The third film, Dream or Nightmare, I don't want to tell you much about it. The title itself suggests how attractive this film is going to be. I can only tell you at this point of time that after viewing this film, you probably will take your performance review discussion a lot more seriously and will not make the mistakes that we usually make in conducting performance review discussions. The second part of this particular film on Dream and Nightmare will tell you how to conduct a good performance review discussion. After viewing this film, I'm sure you would like this film to be viewed by your own seniors and bosses. And also, I'm sure you would like your juniors to say this so that the PRDs are not the same again in your company. Sorry.
Oh God, what time is it, Arvind? It's 1:30, Arvind. How long is this going to go on? That marriage party next door doesn't stop and I can't sleep with this light.
Yeah, not much longer, Meena. You want me to go to the other room?
No, I don't want you to do any such thing. Anyway, what's going on? You never tell me anything.
This is hardly the time, Meena. Look, things are just very hectic. You know, there are problems at the plant, there are targets to meet, bosses after me for some analysis. And on top of everything, personnel department keeps coming back to me saying, PRD, PRD. Things are just piling up.
What's PRD?
Performance review discussion. Some natak bazi they make us go through. Everybody has to go through it with his boss. God. Tomorrow is just one hell of a day.
Oh, you have to meet Karthik also tomorrow. He called, I forgot to tell you.
Karthik? Schoolmaster Karthik?
Yeah. Something about your school golden jubilee thing, that hostel fundraising thing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go, you can always cancel it.
Cancel? Cancel Karthik? No, I couldn't do that.
I knew you'd say that. How long ago did you leave school? 20 more years now. You still look up to him. What were you, his blue-eyed boy?
Oh, me? No, not really. Well, I suppose in a way you could say that. You know, actually he was a very special kind of a person. He was always trying to bring out the best in his boys.
Anyway, you have to get up at 7:30.
Yeah.
It's already 1:30. So you better get some sleep. Put all this stuff away now.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know how I'm going to fit in everything tomorrow. Oh. And then on top of everything else, Karthik. Meeting him is like going back to school.
Come in.
Morning, sir.
Arvind.
Sorry I'm late, sir. My alarm just didn't go off. I didn't mean to keep you waiting.
It's good to see you, Arvind. Let me get you a chair.
No, I'll do that, sir. I'll get a chair for myself.
Oh, it's lovely to see you, Arvind. Yes, indeed. Sit down, Arvind.
Thank you.
Sit down.
Thank you.
You know, you always were a trial once you decided upon the worth of something. Oh, so happy I am to see you.
Well, I think it's important for me to be here, sir. And I'm not so busy that I can't spare a little time for my old school. I'm sure we can raise the funds, sir.
Sorry, I'm not with you.
The funds to be raised, sir, for the hostel building.
Is that what you thought this meeting was all about?
Yes. Isn't it?
No. That's what this meeting is about. That.
Performance review discussion. We're going to be talking about PRDs. What do you know about PRDs?
Enough to know that they could be a nightmare or a dream.
This can't be happening. I don't see the connection. What does he have to do with PRDs? I'm the one supposed to be having PRDs with my juniors later today.
I know. Sit down, Arvind. Sit down. Come and sit down, boy. Yes. Now tell me, Arvind, have you prepared for these PRDs?
Prepared, sir? They're like any other staff meeting, sir. You see, basically what I have to do is, I have to sit down with my junior, and then I tell him how he's going about his job, and then we both put our signatures on his self-appraisal form, and that's it.
You wouldn't say that his future depends on it?
Oh, no, sir, not at all. Not at all.
Well, your juniors seem to think very strongly about it.
They do? That's Raghav Pandey. He's a manager in my department. And that's Manish Sinha. He's a deputy manager.
यार ये मिश्रा ने मेरे साथ क्या पीआरडी किया?
क्यों हुआ क्या?
Bloody hell यार! What's the point of sweating it out and breaking your back on the job? This boss doesn't notice anything. There's no recognition yaar. You know, I thought at least at this PRD, I'd bring my achievements to his notice. The challenges that I faced in meeting these targets, how I managed to meet them. I filled up my form, beat my notes and all.
So then what happened?
Nothing. Usual story. His mind was somewhere else. He says, "Haan bhai, everything's okay na? Any problems?" Then when I start telling him about my problems, he starts telling me about his own. That's it. Then, "Acha, see you tomorrow. Thank you." Yeah, the thing is, this boss doesn't care about performance. What's the point of working so hard?
भाई कमाल है. Raghav, I feel very happy when the boss avoids PRD. Because I get very nervous with him. When I get nervous, I can't talk. He marks my appraisal. Suppose he damages my appraisal. My whole career depends on it. Best policy, Raghav. Just self-appraisal form पे signature डाल दो और भागो. Performance अपने आप संभालो. पानी पी ले.
My God, these are some of my best managers. I rely on them completely. I can't believe the things they're saying about me.
How are they to know how you feel about them and why you feel that way if you don't bring it out into the open?
I always give them very good appraisals. Nobody in the department can blame me on that score.
That means your appraisals have no value. You lump everybody together. You're doing nobody a favor. Besides, you're ducking your own responsibility.
I don't mean it like that.
You know, Arvind, your attitude towards PRDs shows how much you really care for the performance of your officers.
How can you say that?
Arvind, tell me, how often do you exclusively discuss performance with your juniors?
Exclusively? Well, not too often. What happens is that on the job, on and off, it sort of comes up.
You have systematic reviews listing achievements and shortfalls against specified targets in a fixed time frame?
No, not quite in that way.
Well, and at these on and off meetings, do you discuss all the problems and ways how to solve them, your juniors' training needs? And Arvind, do you find out your juniors' views on these matters.
No, sir, no. Where's the time to do that so often? We look at the job at hand and deal with that. That's immediate.
So, what's the only opportunity you have to discuss all the things that we talked about?
I don't know, sir. Performance review discussion?
You knew it. So you see, that's your only opportunity to have a detailed, one-to-one discussion on the one subject that should mean more to you than anything else, the performance of your job.
Well, now that you put it like that, I do see it, I suppose.
So, for a PRD to be useful, you would have to prepare for it and plan on how to conduct it, wouldn't you?
Oh, I thought we were talking about attitudes. I mean, I agree a PRD has its relevance, and we should be able to talk about a whole lot of things. But that's about all.
Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that. I tell you what, let's go back to your last PRD and see what occurs when you just let it happen.
Pandey?
Pandey? Why, I have some time on my hands. Why don't you come across and get over with your PRD?
Right now, sir? Sir, but I'm not prepared, sir.
You filled in your self-appraisal form, no?
Yes, sir, that's with you. I gave it to you quite some time back.
Give it to me. God, yeah, it must be somewhere over here.
Sir, you haven't had a time to look at it, and I really need to go over my points, sir.
We can do that together. Idhar aa jao. We can discuss it. Jaldi aa jao. Time bahut kam.
Right, sir.
Gupta ji, and send that telex to Krishna Swami and get me Calcutta on the phone. Okay? Come in. Come. And the moment Deputy GM comes in, Gupta ji, please let me know. Okay, sir. And don't forget this month's status reports. Right? Okay, thank you. Pandey, let's get this thing over and done with. I found your form. It was buried right here under the files.
Sir, actually, I didn't know that you were going to schedule the PRD for today, sir. And there are quite a few things I need to talk to you about, sir.
Just a minute, that must be Calcutta. Hello? Hello? Dada? Ki hoche ki? Ah, yes. No, you've forgotten us totally. We need those rakes, Dada. We need those R&O rakes within a week. Have you put somebody on the job? No, that won't do. You have to put somebody on the job. If we don't get the supplies, the plant shuts down. Shuts down. Okay. I'm relying on you then. Okay. Goodbye. Thank you. Yeah. Where were we?
Sir, I was saying that...
Oh yeah, your performance. Now look, I looked at your performance overall and it seems okay. Have you been meeting your targets?
Well, sir, you set some very general targets. Now, that's one of the problems. I put it down there.
All right. I'll go into your problems later on, not just now, okay?
Arvind, let's take a closer look at what just happened. You tell me, what do you think the difference would have been if you would fix this appointment well in advance to discuss PRD with Raghav?
Well, let's see, sir. He said he'd be prepared.
Well, prepared would cover a large number of things, wouldn't it? He'd have the right information, he'd have the right figures, he'd have organized his thoughts, and he'd be psychologically be prepared for a most sensitive business, a discussion of his own performance. Don't you think that's what he must have meant?
Oh yes, quite possibly.
And since the meeting was fixed in advance, you would have been able to review your observations to look at that self-appraisal form, right? Anything else?
Well, if I'd set time aside for the PRD, then I wouldn't have to attend to all those other things that kept popping up.
And you'd be able to devote time to the purpose of the meeting, which is to discuss performance. Bravo! So what's the first thing you should think about when setting up a PRD?
Fix an appointment for the PRD well in advance and make sure you allocate sufficient time for discussion.
That's it. Now let's take a look at the external things that could affect a meeting. Things like, interruptions and the sitting of a meeting. Supposing you were able to ensure perfect privacy and no interruptions. How would the meeting have gone then?
Well, Guptaji wouldn't have kept going in and out, and I wouldn't have to take so many calls.
And how would that affect you?
There'd be less chance of my being distracted, sir, and I'd be able to focus better on what we were discussing.
And how do you think Raghav would respond to this?
Oh, he wouldn't be interrupted quite so often, and he'd be able to complete whatever he had to say.
Well, now we're getting somewhere. So what's the second prerequisite of a good PRD?
Make sure nobody disturbs you, and you have a quiet place to talk.
You said it. Now, Arvind, you've set up a meeting in advance, you've ensured privacy. And now your junior walks in. You may not notice this every time, but he is somewhat apprehensive. His self-esteem is at stake. His performance is about to be evaluated, and we are all very prickly about this. His future is at stake. He believes that your appraisal will affect his growth. So given this situation, what should you do next?
Put him at ease. Encourage him to talk.
You hit the nail on the head. You're the senior. You've got to set the tone for the dialogue. You've got to create an atmosphere of openness and trust. So how do you start?
Show friendly concern. Make him comfortable.
That's a good beginning. And?
Acknowledge the things he's done well or done right.
Arvind, you can't have a better start. Arvind, you can't measure performance in a vacuum, can you? You've got to measure it against something.
Oh yes, against tasks and targets. Set once a year and reviewed every 6 months.
And the more closely you set these tasks and targets, the easier it is to achieve them and to measure progress made.
Are you saying that we should set tasks and targets that we can actually measure? You know, that we can define concretely, put down actual quantities, time frames, quality goals, and so on?
Yes. How else would you both be sure of your goals? And how else would your junior go about achieving them? And one thing, Arvind, the setting of these goals can't be in isolation. Your junior has to participate in the setting of these tasks and targets. That way, they become practical. And he has to shoulder the responsibility of achieving them.
Oh yes, I see what you mean.
And whilst on this subject, Arvind, you've got to remember that you've got to be flexible about targets. They may have to be modified for some very good reasons. Change circumstances, modified priorities, rates of progress, so many things.
So, we'd regularly have to monitor targets and reset work accordingly.
Indeed. How are you feeling, Arvind? You okay?
It's been quite a shake-up, sir. I think I'll run along now.
You haven't finished yet.
I'll get a drink of water from the taps. I really can't stay much longer.
Sit down, sit down. I'll get you water right here. Sit down.
Sir, but what more can there be to discuss about PRDs?
Lots. You know, Arvind, if we discuss things here and now, there'll be less of a mess when you get out. Believe me.
With a good PRD?
Stay tuned. Let's go back to that PRD of yours.
Now, look here, Pandey. You know, you really have to pull up your socks. Just the other day, I got reports that you couldn't keep the temperature in the blast furnace at a consistently high level.
But sir, that was last week, for just 2 or 3 days. There was a defect in the stove that was repaired. Apart from that, we've had no problem at all, sir.
I'm not looking for excuses, Pandey. Just don't let it happen again. And there's another thing I wanted to tell you. No, I don't like your attitude at these departmental meetings. You're always contradicting me. You keep saying, no, sir, no, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Sir, but if you only listen to my problems in the first place, then we'll be able to solve them. I won't have to bring them up at these meetings, sir.
We're not discussing my performance, Pandey. We're discussing yours. Anyway, I really don't have much to say at this stage. Overall, your performance seems okay. I'll give you a good report. Don't worry. I'll make it okay for you.
But sir, I have many things to talk to you about, sir.
We can discuss it any time. I'm not running away. We meet every day. Kabhi kar lenge. ठीक है? Sir, DJ must come. Okay. Now look, Raghav, I really have to rush because the DGM is in, and I hope everything is very clear to you, and you'll keep it up. Okay? Goodbye.
Tell me, Arvind, does your boss conduct the PRD the same way as you did?
Oh no, sir. If anything, he takes even less time.
What a shame. What a shame. Anyway, Arvind, in a PRD, you are given an opportunity not only to give feedback to your juniors on their performance, but to receive feedback on their needs, their problems.
I guess you're right, sir. I shouldn't have kept shutting up Raghav the way I did. You see, there were so many problems on my mind that I just wasn't in the right frame to tackle his problems or constraints or anything.
But ignoring a problem won't make it go away, Arvind. You've got to solve it together. But before you can do that, you've got to recognize the problem. Look at the way you started, with the criticism.
Now look here, Pandey. You really have to pull up your socks. You know, just the other day I got reports that you couldn't keep a consistently high temperature in the blast furnace.
You automatically put the man on the defensive. You should have started positively and stayed that way. You must give a junior a chance to speak out. A PRD is a two-way dialogue, a time to give and to get feedback. And Arvind, to get your own views across, you can't just go by whatever views you happen to have in your mind at that moment in time. You've got to keep a track of his performance, to have a sensible discussion on it. Otherwise, it's pointless.
Just the other day I got reports that you couldn't keep a consistently high temperature in the blast furnace.
But sir, that was last week, for only 2 or 3 days. That was a defect in the stove, sir. And it was repaired. Apart from that, we've had no problem at all, sir.
You see, you just quoted a random instance. You've got to keep the entire 6-month period in review. Don't generalize. Be specific.
How am I supposed to remember every single detail, sir?
Try keeping a performance diary on your juniors. Note down significant events and developments, good or bad, and use that as a reference during the PRD.
One more thing I wanted to tell you. You know, I don't like your attitude at these departmental meetings. You're always contradicting me. You keep saying, no, sir, no, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. Yes.
Arvind, that was not only a generalization, that was unfair. Because you picked on a personal characteristic which may not be relevant at all. Arvind, that was such a tremendous opportunity to learn of Raghav's problems which had to do with your department. But you just weren't willing to listen.
But if you only listen to my problems in the first place, then we'll be able to solve them. I won't have to bring them up at these meetings, sir.
We're not discussing my performance, Pandey. We're discussing yours.
You must learn the habit of listening. Draw out the junior. Encourage him to talk. To offer solutions. You said earlier, Raghav was one of your finest managers. Well, you certainly kept that a very good secret from him. Not once did you acknowledge a single achievement of his. What you did say was,
overall, your performance seems to be okay. I'll give you a good report, don't worry.
You think that was enough? What an unclear way of signaling that you were satisfied with his performance. You did anything but motivate him. And finally, you ended in such a rush. No action planning, no review of targets, no attempt at summarizing the points discussed.
But sir, I have many things to talk to you about, sir.
We are not running away anywhere. We meet every day. We can discuss it anytime. Kabhi kar lenge. ठीक है? Okay.
There's just one point on which you were right, when you said that you could speak to him at any time. Indeed, a two-way dialogue doesn't have to be restricted to a PRD. It's an ongoing process of which the PRD is the culmination. But until you reach that stage, you must set aside an hour and a half to 2 hours for a PRD every 6 months.
What? I'm a busy man, sir. I don't have that kind of time.
Think of the time you will save. Think of the man-hours lost as a result of confusion and drift. And all this can be set right at one good managerial meeting. And if you believe in all this and still can't find the time, then there's something drastically wrong with your time management.
It's not the time, sir. I suppose it's my basic attitude to PRDs. You see, I find them a little routine, a little unpleasant, something to get over and done with. And of course, my boss hasn't handled my PRDs any better. If anything, he spent even less time than me.
That just shows a lack of understanding and how a poor example sets off a chain reaction right down the line. The poor practice doesn't make a PRD any less relevant. A good PRD can be one of the strongest managerial tools. And in case the reasons have gone dusty in the din of daily pressure, let me refresh them for you. 1. A good PRD clears the air. It creates an atmosphere of trust and openness between the senior and the junior. 2, it gives you an opportunity to give honest feedback to your junior and to receive feedback from him. 3, it helps both of you bring problems out into the open and to solve them. 4, you can get to understand each other better, learn from each other. 5, you can use a PRD to discuss training and development needs. 6, a good PRD shows that you value your junior's opinions and feelings. And that can do wonders for team spirit. And what would you say is the sum total, the total effect of all these factors? You tell me.
Well, I guess my juniors would be a happier bunch.
Happier, more motivated, more productive. And if all your managers are more productive, what does that make you?
Makes me more productive too. In fact, the whole department would work better.
Make you a more effective manager.
Are you saying that if I hold good, timely PRDs, I am helping my juniors to help myself?
Exactly, Arvind. There's hope for you yet. Come in.
Pandey? That's Raghav Pandey.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Was he in the same school?
No, sir. Just in the same dream. Well, I just wanted to tell you, sir, that, you know, when you hold good PRDs, you're teaching us to do the same with our juniors. It goes down the line, you see, sir.
I agree with you, Raghav. I wasn't setting a very good example, was I? I just wish my own boss was in this dream, too.
Oh, the bell is about to ring. Yes.
Hello? Yeah. Just a minute. It's for you, Karthik.
Oh no.
Huh?
Yes? No. There's no mistake, Gupta ji. I have given 1.5 hours for Raghav Pandey's PRD. I set it up a fortnight back. Yes, that's right. And please, no visitors, no calls, no interruptions. Okay? Good. Send him in. Thank you. Come in. Raghav, come in. Come in, I will expect him. Come, sit. So,
Sir?
how's life?
Fine, sir.
Oh,
Nothing much to complain about.
tell me, how did your house shifting go? Okay?
Pretty smoothly, sir.
Good.
There were a few breakages, but nothing major. Just a few of my wife's favorite vases.
And you call that nothing major? Okay, Raghav. Should we get down to business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Look, I have here with me the targets that we had jointly set out 6 months ago.
Yes, sir. They're on my self-appraisal form also, sir. And the changes that we made during the 6 months,
Yeah.
that's also been accounted for.
Good. Very good. You know, I'd say, Raghav, you met 95% of your targets very effectively. And you were up against a lot of constraints.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you've noticed.
Oh, yes. You've managed to keep a very high center ratio in the charge. The coke rate has shown a very, very encouraging decline. In fact, for the past 2 months, the center ratio has been 2% above the norm, which is really good. And I have here in my performance diary that on the 15th of September, you were able to avoid a major mishap in the blast furnace by a timely detection of a fault in the hot blast valve, right?
You've really been keeping a track of things, sir.
Well, I've been keeping a performance diary, you know, and it's a real help.
Performance diary? That sounds like a very good idea, sir. Maybe I could use this with my boys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Always pick up good tips from the boss. That's the motto. Raghav, you know, we seem to have a major stumbling block in meeting some of our qualitative targets. You know, somehow we just haven't been able to keep up a consistently high temperature in the blast furnace. Do you know why it's happening?
Sir, I think the maintenance of our stove valves has just not been up to the mark. The hot blast valves are constantly giving trouble, sir.
You could have a point there. Any suggestions?
Sir, I think we should boost up the inspections from once a week to at least twice a week.
Okay.
And you'll have to speak to Mr. Vaidya, the maintenance superintendent, about that.
Okay, I'll do that straight away. Right. Tell me, Raghav, are you having any problems delegating work to your boys?
Well, sir, I don't know.
No, the reason why I ask is because, you know, when I was your age, I was very reluctant to delegate.
You see, sir, I always feel that I can do things much faster if I do them on my own.
Yeah, but, you know, if you take on too much yourself, then your own productivity suffers.
That's true, sir. But what if my boys feel that I'm passing the buck on to them and evading my responsibilities?
You could do something. You could sit down with them. Break up the job into different components. Allocate tasks, targets, and responsibilities to everybody. Keep some tasks for yourself also, and overall supervision. Put it all down in a job sheet, circulate it in a memo, and you're in business.
That's not a bad idea, sir. Why didn't I think of it before?
If you do all the thinking, Raghav, what's left for the boss? Raghav, any other problems? What about in your work with me, in my style of behavior, my approach?
No, sir. No.
No, it's important to know, Raghav, because if there is something, you should bring it out in the open.
Well, sir, there was one time.
Go on.
Sir, you remember the time when you were very upset about our safety standards?
Yes, I remember.
Well, sir, you just dumped the whole thing into my lap. And you said you wanted results. Now, the safety engineering chaps just refused to cooperate, sir. Now, if at that time you had just spoken to their boss, Mr. Mathur, then things would have been much more simple for me, sir. And the job would have been done much faster and better.
I take your point, Raghav. I'll tell you what. Next time that happens, you just send a memo across to the safety engineering people with a copy to me. And follow it up with me personally after that. And I assure you, I will pull every weight I can to see that things work out. Okay? Anything else?
No, sir. That's it.
Okay. Let's discuss your training needs, okay?
Yes, sir. So maybe I need a little bit of brushing up on methods of cost control.
Okay. I'll record that in the form. And Raghav, what about a little training on presentation skills? You know, I mean, I think you need a little help over there.
Oh, definitely,
Right?
sir.
Okay.
That would be a good idea.
I'll put that down also. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
No, sir. I think we've covered a lot of ground for today, sir.
Okay. Let's just recap everything that we've done today before we sit down and set up next 6 month targets.
Yes, sir.
Now, the first thing that we decided was that we would maintain the high center ratio that you achieved in the first quarter.
Yes, sir.
And the decline in the coke rate?
Here you are, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Raghav.
Well, sir, this has been a really fruitful discussion for me, sir.
For both of us, Raghav. And remember, we have to be open and frank with each other all the time. Not just in a PRD, right?
Right, sir.
Good day.
Good day, sir. Sir, there's something I just have to ask you, sir.
Yes.
Your entire attitude to PRDs has changed drastically. What happened, sir?
Oh. I had a dream.
Right, sir.